I'd like to welcome each one here this evening to our meeting on May the 6th. I'd like to call this meeting to order by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Nishnawbe, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. Confirmation of the agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves the agenda for May 6th, 2024 council meeting as presented. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. Public comment. This is an disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Go ahead, Councillor Van Hitterson, please.
I'm declaring a conflict of interest because for agenda item 7.1.7 PL 2024-08, because our property is located within the 60-meter circulation of the subject lands.
Thank you. Okay, number 4, public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to any item of business on the agenda. 2 minutes per person. Members wishing to speak will need to state their name and the item of business that they wish to speak to. If you go ahead, just press the button. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Rachel King with the Blythe Festival. On behalf of the Blythe Center for the Arts and all of the artists, technicians, volunteers, and staff that comprise our community, I'm here this evening to urge Council to support the request from Huron County Pride and the Huron Perth Health Unit to fly the Pride flag in June and declare the month of June as Pride Month in the municipality. The township's own strategic plan speaks to a goal to be a vibrant and welcoming community, making strides towards a youth-friendly community and improving community spirit and image. Supporting these requests is one way to take steps forward in achieving these goals. Such an act of solidarity and respect represents the best of what we can be as a community, a place of acceptance where we love our neighbors, welcome strangers, and treat each other as we would be treated. Providing visibility and acknowledgement of the value of the contributions of the Two-Spirit LGBTQIA+ population in our community is an important step forward in continuing to strive to be a welcoming township in which to live, work, love, and play. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. 5, consent agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent item 5.1.1 and further that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent items 5.1.2 to 5.3.11 for information purposes. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve Faulkner? Councillor McBurney? Okay, would anybody like to pull anything out? Seeing none. All in favor? Carried. Public hearings and delegations. 6.1.1, we have Amanda and Chase here. Please come forward. Just say where your address is and your name for our clerk to write down, please.
Okay, it's Chastity Boss, 83070 Marnock Line, Auburn.
Amanda Anderson, 41059 Winthrop Road, Lawnsboro.
Okay. Thank you for giving us the time in the agenda to bring to your attention the alarming increase in the rates to rent the baseball diamonds in Blythe. Blythe has had a ladies slow pitch league playing in the diamonds in Blythe since 1988. Our home games were played Wednesday nights. In 2022, our 8-team Central Huron Ladies League made the decision to move our games to all Tuesday nights, and we would play out of Lawnsboro, Holmesville, and both diamonds in Blythe. As Blythe has the 2 diamonds and the campground, we have also used it for our year-end tournament. With 4 teams playing in Blythe on Tuesday nights, we bring approximately 80 people to town who also frequent the businesses and restaurants uptown before the games. By having the tournament in Blythe, we also bring in a couple hundred people on the weekend who also shop and eat in town, and most teams rent a campsite as well. When we filled out the 2024 sports field request form, we did not realize that we would have to pay the hourly rate plus the lights evening rate. This was not, in our opinion, clearly stated. And as you can see from the other municipalities, I had sent a spreadsheet out today. As you can see from the other municipalities, you get a rate with lights or no lights and not by the hour. The total amount we paid in 2023 was $1,264.26, and the amount for 2024 is to be $2,032.16, including the insurance you require. When we first questioned the rate increase, we were told many times it was a 17% increase, when in fact it is 61%. When we questioned the cost increase and made it known that we would have to find other diamonds to play at if this cost of the diamonds in Blythe, no one cared. They just told us to let them know if we want the diamonds or not. This also alarmed us. Why would any employee of North Huron not want to have the diamonds as full as possible all summer long? We understand that costs have gone up and rate increases are inevitable. If the increase was truly the 17%, that would be an increase of $214.92 over last year, and those numbers we could work with. But an increase of $767.90 is unreasonable when that is the total cost of the other two diamonds we rent for the entire summer. Regular maintenance needs to be done on the diamonds, whether they're rented out or not. So wouldn't it be better to have them rented out at a reasonable rate than to have them sit empty all summer long? Any questions?
At this time, are there any questions or from any of the counselors?
That's
Go ahead.
true, Reeve. I'm just questioning the amount it went up.
Okay,
That's 61%.
thank you. I'll turn it over to Kelly at this time, please.
Through you, Reeve Heffer. When we reviewed the fees and charges for this for the ball diamonds, what we saw was that, yes, there was an increase to both fees. For the diamonds, they went from $13 an hour in total in 2023 to $15 an hour, which includes, and when I say in total, that's the rate plus the HST. The lighting, though, did go up quite significantly. It went up from $11 as a flat rate to $28.25 for flat rate for this year. And one of the reasons we evaluated the costs of inflation relative to hydro and realized that the lighting fees have not gone up significantly or at all in a number of years. Starting in 2018, it was just $9.03. So over, what have we got? 5 years, it's gone up $2. And so our lighting fees have not kept up with the cost of inflation. For example, what we see is just to change a light bulb, it costs us about $300 to do that. And over the course of a season, we're changing at least 2 light bulbs a season. And so you can just see from that example that the costs are quite significant.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Mr. McBurney?
Yes, it does, sort of, but I still question the difference from 23 to 24. That's a lot.
That number. Right.
No.
Okay, do any other counselors have any questions for the ladies here, please?
At this point, if council was going to take any action, you need to provide that direction. If you're not going to take any action, you would want to pass a motion to receive the delegation for information. So I'll leave that with the floor of what direction you want to provide to staff.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson, please.
Well, I think this fits all in our, that we are going to review all the bylaws by the end of the year or August, September. And then as a council, we will talk about it that time to, and hopefully we'll get a better explanation. And I know we have talked about North Huron has the highest taxes here in Huron County. And we are a very small municipality with with not many people. Most municipalities are 3 times our size and have way lower taxes. We can't keep our taxes, keep increasing our taxes because everybody wants all the facilities for free or for little money. We have to go up with everything. That's unfortunately, but it is just the times we are living in right now. That's what it is, most of it. But we will look at the fees and charges every year, and we'll say something about that then.
Well, yes,
Right.
I understand that our taxes are the highest. I own property in 4 municipalities, so I have a spreadsheet on that as well, that
Me
our
too.
tax rate is. But also, like, the diamond rates comparables, you say you compare them to the neighboring municipalities, but those aren't close either. So,
And the maintenance on the ball diamonds, like grass cutting, you're doing that maintenance on it, whether we're using it or not.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So would you rather them sit there empty? Or would you rather people use them and bring in a little bit of money? Because if the costs don't go down, and we can't wait till September or next ball season, we start next week. So if the rates don't come down and we go somewhere else to play, then they're gonna sit there and not get used at all, but you guys still have to cut the grass there.
I
Our
guess,
our facilities are used by many people out of the area, and we still have to look after the taxes from our residents. That
The
they
black ball
care for.
diamonds are not used by many people out of the area.
If you have tournament,
How many tournaments are booked there this summer?
I have no idea.
I guess we have to look at it that the fees that we're charging here are the same up at this top end of the municipality as at the south end. And we can't just go and change one area. We'd have to do that all through. And I think that's where we, excuse me, we leave that up to our rec director to come up with the numbers, and we have to go with those numbers that she's presented, because we passed them already this year. And as said, it was mentioned by one of them that we'll be looking at that again in next August, September.
So there's no chance of adjusting the prices for this year so that we'll use the diamonds? There's no chance of that at all? We're just gonna have them,
Turning that over to Kelly, if you just can give a. Yeah, it'd have to be council direction, and so. It'd have to be with council direction and
Yeah, so if I may, your worship, just to reiterate, ultimately it's the council decision of what you want to do. If you want to provide that direction to staff to amend your fees, or you want to provide that direction to keep them the same, that's a decision that you as council have to make. And then staff and Director Stace would implement that direction.
go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, so I'll just make motion to receive verification. But I'm gonna add. And I will get to this year.
So could you read the motion that you had presented there, please?
Yeah, so Councilor Wright, if you want more added to this, just let me know. But basically your motion would be that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the May 6, 2024 delegation from Amanda Anderson and Chas Boss regarding baseball diamond rental fees for information purposes.
That's correct. Thank you.
May I have a mover?
You have your seconder.
Seconder? Seconder, please. You have a seconder. Councillor Deputy Reeve, all in favor? Carried. Okay, that's it. Thanks very much, ladies. Okay, at this time we go to 6.2, Walter Malcolm. And Luke Charbonneau is the chair of Westario, and they're going to present to us Westario. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Well, thank you. Good evening, Reeve and members of council. Thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time. My name is Luke Charbonneau. I'm the mayor of the town of Saugeen Shores and chairman of Westerio Power. And as mentioned, I'm joined here by Wally Malcolm, who is the president and chief executive officer of Westerio Power. And I'm going to turn things over to Wally to take us through most of this, but I just wanted to start by thanking you once again for seeing us today and letting you know that Wally and I are on a bit of a tour. We're going around and visiting all of the shareholders of Westerio Power and giving an update on the operations of the company as well as some of the capital investments that we're making. It's very important to the board to be as open as we can be with our shareholders, you folks, and the folks who live here in North Huron are obviously owners of Westerio Power. And we want to give you as much information as we can about the company that you own and what we're doing to power the lives of your residents. So with that, I'll turn it over to Wally. And of course, I'll be available along with him after the presentation to answer any questions that you might have. Wally.
Oh, good evening. Thank you very much, Reeve, councilors, administration staff. It's a true honor to come to North Huron and talk a little bit about a company that you own, Westerio Power, and hopefully we can answer some of your questions of what's been going on at Westerio Power over the past year and answer any questions that you may have. So again, thank you very much. So 15 communities servicing Bruce, Grey, Huron, and Wellington counties. We have a mighty staff of 41. And we're located in Walkerton. On the human resources side of the 41 staff, the majority are unionized staff in the basically in the outside trades field to ensure that the power is maintained and securely delivered to each and everybody's homes and businesses. Human resources has been a struggle for Westerio Power in regards to recruitment. Takes a while to post for a position, interview candidates, try to find the most qualified candidate for the position, and then hiring them on. As you can see, there's a number of positions that took a while to bring on board from the date of posting to the date of being filled. And a few of them have been major positions within the organization. So VPs of finance, VP of engineering and operations, CEO position, manager position. So they're key and critical areas that are required to operate a utility, but to attract people and to get the right person in here is a struggle. And I think most municipalities are finding the same thing in today's day and age. We take safety very seriously at Westerio Power. As you can see, there's a number of training programs that we go through with our staff, in particular our outside staff. As you can imagine, working on lines in the middle of a storm, whether it's rain or ice or snow, high winds, it's treacherous, and they do a fantastic job. But we have to make sure that they have the skills and the equipment and the abilities to do that type of work. And we're proud that we're a leader in regards to the health and safety of our staff going forward. We have a very active Joint Health and Safety Committee. The Joint Health and Safety Committee represents both inside and outside workers. They meet on basically a monthly time period, except for July. They'll meet in July and August when required. But we're always active in making sure that if there's any concerns or questions from the staff, that they are available, and we address any concerns that are brought up to our attention from the staff. Operations on the reliability. What do people and our customers really want? They want to make sure that the service is reliable. So there, over the past year, from 22 to 23, we have seen a reduction in the duration as well as the number of outages that we've seen. Been very proactive in our maintenance programs, making sure that our lines are rebuilt where necessary. One of the key areas that I'll get to further down, you'll see on when we do feeder patrols. The picture on the left is before we did proactive tree clearing. The pole line on the right is after we've cleared the lines. So you can imagine with ice storms, wind storms, any type of inclement weather, those branches swinging up against our lines cause outages, which in turn impacts our customers, both residential and commercial. So prior to 22, we were more reactive. We set out a proactive approach divided our service territory into 3 areas. And every 3 years, we go around and service those areas to make sure that any trees that are within that area get cut down, trimmed as necessary. Just because we're on a 3-year cycle, if there are trees and species out there that are fast growing, so when we do our patrols, we make sure that if we identify a fast growing species, that we don't wait for the full 3 years to do the tree trimming. We will go back and proactively trim those trees that are growing faster than a 3-year cycle. Revenues and expenses. The bottom line of the Westerio Power has improved over the past year. Basically, $1 million increase from one year to another, looking at the efficiencies of our organization and also looking at how we do business as Westerio Power. One of the benefits that we received was through the shareholders like yourself, looking at reducing your dividend to 50%, so that we can bring that money back in to work on our capital programs. And that assisted us over the past year to do that. As far as the dividends are concerned, we're looking at bringing that back for 2025 to 100%. So your municipality and your shareholders will see that increase in 2025. Some of the key accomplishments. One of the items that utilities are required to do every 5 years is go into a cost of service application. That cost of service application dictates what our rates will be over the next 5 years, as well as what capital programs will be funded through that, through the funds that we receive. The submission of our cost of service application went through to the Ontario Energy Board, and about 2 weeks ago, we received our decision on that cost of service, so we know where we stand and where we can move forward into the future. The notice of hearing, I know we're late in the game coming to North Huron, but we did submit the application back in November. This was a notice that had to go out onto our website, into the local newspapers, so that people can understand what is the impact to their bottom line through our cost of service application. The process that happens is that when you submit the cost of service to the Ontario Energy Board, we go through an intervention process where interveners can come to the Ontario Energy Board and say, we want to question our application. I won't bring the application to you because it's about 500 pages of paperwork that has to be submitted, but 2 interveners did go through the 500 pages and then submitted about 158 questions to us. Not only does the interveners provide us with questions and challenge us on our cost of service application, the Ontario Energy Board staff also goes through the application and make sure that what we say is valid, what is in there is accurate, and to make sure that at the end of the day, the customers will get the best benefit for Westerio rates if there's any rate increase moving forward. In February, we answered those questions. We had a settlement conference, so that's where we get together and meet with the interveners and OEB staff to go over that application. They ask more questions. We get to a settlement to where the give and take happens, similar to what you have in labor negotiations or procurement processes. We went through that same process. Then it gets back to us to resubmit what we had at that settlement conference, and then the interveners say yay or nay to that application. And in our case, they did say yes. So we're very proud about that. Talked a little bit about the dividend policy. Again, looking at in 2025 for the 2024 year, going back to that 100% dividend that you received previously. Electricity rates, very hot topic. Probably since the day electricity was charged. It used to be a free service. Now it's been charged for over 100 years, but it's received a lot of political exposure in the past 25 years, especially when not Bill Davis, but Mike Harris government decided to re-regulate the industry. We used to be a public utility commission, not for profit. They turned us into a profit-bearing company. And with profits, that's what happens is rates start to creep up again. Interesting thing about what the electricity rates have done, we used to have a tiered level where you use 750 and then you get charged for using that amount of electricity. Anything above that, you get charged a higher rate. The government also introduced the time of use. So for the folks that use electricity during the time periods when it's cheaper to produce and generate, then you get a break on that bill. What they did now is added an ultra low overnight rate. So the government was very keen on looking at the adoption of electric vehicles and the charging of electric vehicles. So with the ultra low rate, at the time when there's little demand for electricity, but there's the potential of generation to be in the system, offering a reduced rate at overnight time period so that people that can switch their loads to 11 to 7 can do that at a lower rate. The caveat is that when it's a costlier time period, and that's between 4 and 9 during the evening hours, the people that are on ultra low rate will see a double of the rate structure. So you get penalized for using electricity during the peak time, but you get a nice little discount at the end for using it during the nighttime period. In our service territory, we've had about 17 individuals that have signed up to the ultra low rate. And as the adoption to electric vehicles and as people look at how they use electricity, there's small commercial businesses. There's some that can take advantage of putting on solar panels during the daytime and then collecting and using power later at night. There's options for people to do. So we're seeing a lot of interest from our customer base and looking at how they can utilize the system to their benefit. Ontario Electricity Support Programs. There are a number of programs that are available to residential customers and commercial customers that meet certain needs. I'll talk about the residential customers. One good thing that the government did was they raised the threshold of income to classify you as a low income individual. So that put more dollars into people's pockets in regards to looking at inflation. You just talked about it just at the last speaker group, that costs are rising. And so with costs rising, level of income is not rising as fast as the cost of living. So by having these assistance programs and raising the threshold for people to use these programs is a benefit to the customers that really need it. Information technology, we're looking at cybersecurity very seriously, training all staff on cybersecurity. We have a consultant looking at any risks within our organization in regards to anybody third party, dark web, trying to hack into our systems. That's an ongoing basis because it is critical to our infrastructure. You can imagine that someone taps into the electricity distribution system into one of our stations can cause major havoc in our service territory. So as a utility company, we take it very seriously and always trying to be proactive in making sure that our risks are limited. A bunch of community engagement programs that we've done are listed here. Very proud of the staff and the volunteerism that they do in the communities that we serve, and to ensure that we provide that opportunity moving forward, that they're in the eyes of the customers and can ask us questions at any time. And at that, I'll open it up to any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very good. I'm fortunate sitting on the board. I get to see some of the stuff here, but just presenting it out, that was very good and appreciate that. So at this time, I'm turning over to council. Would any members like to ask questions? Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Thanks, through you, Reeve. I have two questions. The first one, maybe you've heard this before, but so obviously there's the cost of service application, which sets the electric rates. How does Westario set their fees for like connection fees for buildings and stuff like that? Because I have heard some quotes that seem to be kind of eye-raisingly high. So just as a monopoly, I'm just curious how those fees are set.
Excellent question. Through the Reeve, our rates are regulated by the Ontario Energy Board. We have to do a process, and it's part of the cost of service process to identify any auxiliary fees that we need to charge. And the Ontario Energy Board makes sure that all fees throughout the province of Ontario are similar.
Thanks. And then the second question is, I'm just, I are you ready for the electric vehicle surge coming, or do you stay up late at night? And is there programs for like, two-way smart meters and those kinds of things? I'm just curious how you're preparing for that.
Yes, through the Reeve, yes, I do sleep well at night with the electrification. Our system is robust. The take-up of electric vehicles is a lot slower than expected. For us, we're doing a lot, when we're going in and doing our maintenance programs, we always look at our transformation and the cables that we're utilizing to make sure that we have the capacity to handle those types of loads. So we're very active, and the government has been very good by identifying by postal code who owns electric vehicles in the province of Ontario. So we get those reports on a quarterly basis. So we can see actively within our service territory how the pickup of electric vehicles is coming forward. Smart metering is, again, we're getting into the next tranche. The original was back in 2000 when we started looking at how do we look at smart meters and the pricing of electricity. We're at that age now that those meters are coming due. So part of that is looking at new smart technology and two-way technology as well.
Thank you. Any other questions from any of the council members? I know, I guess probably in here, it's just myself, Councillor Wright and Councillor Whitfield that are Westario, because once you go beyond, as you know, Highway 86, it stops.
Unfortunate.
But I can say that our hydro's on a little bit more than what it is out that way anyway. So we're very fortunate that way, and we appreciate the quick thing. And I noticed in your presentation that you go for that. You have to bring service, and that's very much appreciated. So any other questions come to light to anybody? Well, we thank you very much for your presentation, very much, Walter and Luke. Thank you. 7.1.1 PL 2024-08 consent application Stutzman 84368 Marnock Line. Consent application report files CO1 21/2024. Applicant owner Jacob and Katie Stutzman. Property description concession 6 part lots 34 and 35 East Wallinosh Ward, Township of North Huron, Marnock Line. That the council of the Township of North Huron. Okay, I'll let Hannah go take. Sorry, go ahead, Hannah.
Yep. So thank you again to council for having me this evening. So I'm just going to go through my presentation. It is slightly lengthier than usual. So the subject property, as mentioned before, does have a 911 address on Marnock Line, but it also does have frontage on Nature Center. The property is designated agriculture, extractive, and natural environment in the North Huron official plan. It's currently zoned AG1, general agriculture, and NE2, natural environment. The subject property does contain an existing dwelling, accessory structures, and livestock buildings, and it is also intersected by a portion of the Belgrave Creek, which is shown better in the next slide. As mentioned before, the proposal is for a proposed severance to create a new lot. So as council can see on the 2020 aerial imagery, the existing dwelling and then farm buildings that was built on the property were only recently built in the last few years. So where the blue dot is approximately where that building cluster is. So that's located on the retained land. And then the proposal is to create a new lot that will have frontage along Nature Center Road. And then the proposed rear new property line falls approximately along the Belgrave Creek. So in terms of the severed lot, it is approximately 13 acres in size, which is about 5.26 hectares. And the retained land is approximately 195 acres or 79 hectares. So the following does show the severance sketch as provided by the applicant. Again, showing the larger property with the retained and severed, and then there is a rough sketch showing the area that would be subject to the severance. So the applicant has indicated that they intend to build a new dwelling and livestock barn on the proposed severed lot, details of which will be dealt with later in the process. The following shows site visit photos of the proposed property. So these photos are both of the proposed severed lot. So this is looking south from Nature Center Road towards the Belgrave Creek and natural environment area. And then these site photos show from Marnock Line, a portion of the existing building cluster on the retained lot from Marnock Line. So in terms of consent applications, as mentioned in my report, they are required under the Planning Act to be consistent with the current provincial policy statement and conform to the county and North Huron official plans. The subject lands are located in the prime agricultural area. So this is defined as an area where farming operations dominate, and this includes agricultural lands, as well as other lands that are not cultivated, such as natural environment areas or vacant lands. So it follows a systems approach. So in North Huron and then the county as a whole, any area that's outside of a designated settlement area is considered part of the prime agricultural area. So this will inform the policies that are applicable. The proposed lot is relatively small at 13 acres. So as such, my report and presentation goes into detail the relevant policies that are related to both the creation of a new agricultural lot as well as a new non-farm residential lot. So these were both considered. In terms of the provincial policy statement and county official plan, they provide similar direction for lot creation. So first, lot creation for agricultural uses shall be sized sufficiently large to maintain flexibility for future changes in the type or size of agricultural operations. With the county official plan outlining that this lot size will be stipulated in the North Huron official plan, and the creation of any non-farm residential lots is strictly prohibited and not allowed in the provincial policy and likewise in the county official plan. Instead, this development is directed to settlement areas where the township has made significant investments in servicing. It is also worth noting that as included on the consent agenda, that there is a current draft of the 2024 provincial policy statement, which is currently out for comment. Similar policy direction is provided for this, continuing to prohibit non-farm residential lot creation and continuing to require that agricultural lots be large enough to maintain flexibility. So members of council may also recall that in the 2023 provincial policy statement draft, there was proposal to allow for non-farm residential severances, and this was since removed by the province, and that was in response to very strong comments from farm groups and commodity groups, as well as municipalities. So in terms of the North Huron official plan, oh, sorry, I'll just go back there. So this is directly quoted from the official plan, which again was reviewed in 2022, where the land is being conveyed or retained for agricultural purposes. A consent may be granted where both the severed and retained parcels respect the long-term need for agricultural flexibility. And determining this, the following criteria is met. So the proposed operation must be an agricultural operation, either by itself or in conjunction with other lands owned by the operator. Agriculture must be the intended use. And most importantly, and most of a point of discussion relevant to this is a minimum lot size of 38 hectares is required. So this is equivalent to 94 acres. So this does follow how some of the original concessions were constructed many years ago, which is about 100 acres with giving some flexibility, but the lot size is certainly sufficient enough to accommodate the dominant type of agriculture that we see in North Huron. And then further, it explicitly prohibits, as mentioned before, the non-farm rural residential lots will not be allowed under any circumstance. Just go back there. So the 13-acre proposed lot size, it is significantly undersized from the minimum 94-acre official plan requirement. My report does go into greater detail, but large lot sizes are perhaps the most important factor for providing long-term agricultural flexibility. As smaller lot creation, it introduces the potential for introducing incompatible or sensitive uses such as new dwelling units with reduced setbacks. And so the minimum distance separation formula is a requirement of the province. And what it does is it ensures compatibility between livestock and manure facilities and sensitive uses such as dwellings. So there are certain setback requirements depending on the livestock operation that's proposed that they have to meet. And every time a new smaller lot is created, it does increase the potential that it is prohibiting either the establishment or the expansion of livestock operations. So that is perhaps the biggest threat to the long-term flexibility, is creating those new lots. Sorry. So again, as mentioned, the smaller lot size does increase the potential for this. And also furthermore, what we've seen is sometimes when these smaller lots are created that are, the 13 acres, they can also potentially in the long term be used for just residential uses rather than agricultural uses. Just because they are smaller, they're more attractive to people that just want to have a dwelling. And then also because of the lot size, there is limited options for that lot due to MDS. For example, they can't meet their neighboring setbacks. So they're not necessarily conducive to agriculture in the long term. And then as mentioned before, new residential lot creation is not permitted in the prime agricultural areas. It's directed to settlement areas, the exception being surplus farm dwelling severances, which make use of existing dwellings that already have existing impacts. So in terms of the planning review, perhaps most important is for council to consider that certainly the impacts of these severances will vary by location and the specific property, and that is definitely considered. But it's important to note that there are several other similar agricultural properties in the East Waminash Ward and then the county as a whole that have similar potential for severance pressure for these undersized lots. We do occasionally get these types of inquiries from members of the public. And more importantly, in particular in North Huron, because of the natural environment and the number of water courses, there is many properties that have a small portion that's intersected by a water course or a natural environment area. So there is potential for this pressure on other properties. And while there is no precedent set for planning applications, it would be reasonable to expect that if this application to create a substantially undersized lot or non-farm residential lot in an agricultural area is approved, that council will receive similar applications, all expecting a similar decision. Hence why planning staff recommend that council consistently apply these policies. In terms of continue with my planning review, there are alternative options to severances of new lots, which was discussed during the official plan review, which will not fragment the land base permanently and create long-term agricultural inflexibility. So through the official plan and zoning bylaw review, North Huron does permit additional residential units and detached structures on the same parcel as agricultural properties. So this provides an option to have additional housing without severing the lot and permanently creating a new MDS impact permanently. And this also does provide more opportunities for livestock options because it is on an existing parcel that is not undersized. So the applicant is certainly encouraged to consider this as an alternative. In terms of the technical review, my report does go into greater detail. Currently, the severed lot does meet the MDS requirements with respect to existing neighboring operations for a new dwelling. So that's with respect to the retained property as well as the properties across the road that have existing livestock operations or barns that have potential to host livestock. There is a proposal to have a future livestock operation on the severed lot, the details of which, aside from the sketch, have not been narrowed down by the applicant. This can be dealt with later in the process, but it is worth noting that because of the size of the lot and the small setbacks to their existing neighboring properties that have residential units, there will be limited options for them in the long term if they want a larger livestock operation, for example. So that's something to consider. And I think that again reiterates why we try to keep the lots as large as possible. There are no concerns regarding natural hazards or natural environment as detailed in the agency comments. So in terms of comments, as of current, we have not received any public comments in writing at the date of submission. Township staff did review, all noting no concern. The drainage superintendent does note that the property is assessed to admissible drain. So if the application does proceed, reapportionment under the Drainage Act will be required. And then Public Works also acknowledges that a new entrance upon development onto Nature Center Road will be required. Maitland Valley and then the Huron County biologists have both indicated no concerns with respect to natural hazards or natural features. So if the application does proceed as a as a result, the details of where to actually locate the development will be assessed, because there is, a flood hazard on a portion of the severed lot. So as stated in my report, and I'll reiterate, the application is not consistent with the provincial policy statement. It does not conform to county and North Huron official plans. It is recommended that the consent application be denied. And the application, upon receiving a recommendation from North Huron Council, will proceed to Huron County Council for a decision. So I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Well, thank you very much for the thorough presentation, Planner Holman. And at this time, are there any questions from council at this time? Go ahead, Councilor Wright, please.
Back to slide 2. There's just a lot of irregular borders there, so I just wondered if you could kind of just explain what that is, because there looks to be a bunch of severed lots there. I think the previous slide shows it better.
Yes, so my understanding is that, oh, if we bring that back up. So the other lots that are abutting along Nature Center Road, unfortunately, I don't know the whole history of them. And speaking with the neighbors, both of them have owned the properties for decades, or there's been dwellings there for decades. Some of what we will see, speaking more generally, in East Wawanosh, is a lot of this is a legacy of when retirement lots were permitted by the province prior to 2005. So again, that's possibly how these lots were created. So there's a lot of these that unfortunately do already have an MDS impact, and that's part of the reason why in 2005 the province and then planning as a whole in the province did change course in prohibiting these because of the long-term impact. In terms of the larger lot, my understanding through speaking with the applicant and reviewing previous applications is that if we look at, oh, sorry, I'll just go back. Sorry, Olivia, you might just have to go back. Thank you. Yeah, so if we look in the southeast corner, how it jets out there, my understanding is that at some point that land was acquired from the property along Marnock Line, that larger farm parcel. That parcel was not left undersized, but that was transferred to the property owner. So their lot is a little bit larger than it originally was. So that's my understanding. And again, as mentioned, the Belgrave Creek does intersect the property. So hence that's why the proposed property line is a little odd there, because it is following along the Belgrave Creek there.
Yeah, so I guess if I could follow up, so are there already 4 severed properties, that 2 basically on either side of the proposed property? Is that kind of what those lot lines mean?
Yes, that is correct. Yep. So, yep, there's 4 there. So 2 to the west and then one to the east there. Yep, that's correct.
So I guess my question is I mean, as far as your presentation goes, makes sense, in so many ways. But with regards to, setbacks for agricultural purposes in the future, is severing this property really going to make it any different in this particular spot?
Yeah, so through the yeah, that's a great question. In this case, for example, on the retained land and then possibly across the road, they are already impacted by those dwellings. So there is already an impact there. I guess the point I'm trying to reiterate is I will say this is not unique because we do have that legacy of retirement lots. There's certainly instances where perhaps right now there's not additional MDS impacts, but in terms of the long term, I think having consistent policy application is important, notwithstanding, obviously the impacts of certain lots will vary. And then also because they want to have a livestock operation on the subject property, because they are adjacent to those dwellings and they have a small lot the flood hazard as well as the natural environment setbacks further limit where they're able to build, further demonstrate that at least if we look at the MDS in the reverse, it will be challenging for them to locate a livestock barn. So that's another reason why we're not in support of it. But I guess the biggest point I can make is I don't think this circumstance is unique. And as mentioned before, council will see a lot of other applications for this, which is why we try to have consistent policy approaches. Regardless of, we certainly consider the specific circumstances, but that's certainly our biggest concern. And that's why the policy is written not to provide certain exemptions, right? It's flat out prohibited. So, yeah.
Counselor, are there any questions from any other members at this time? Seeing none, there's a motion here that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby recommended denial of consent application file number C021-2024, applicant owner Jacob and Katie Stutzman, property description, concession 6, part lots 34 and 35, East Wallenosh Ward, Township of North Huron, 84368 Marnik Line. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, seconder. Counselor Whitfield. Are there any other questions for Planner Hallman? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. 7.2, Finance Department, nothing. 7.3, Recreation Child's Services Department. Seven point 3.1, RC 2024-03 Recreation Program Service Agreement with Huron County. Are there any questions for Director Stice at this time? It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? So may I have a mover? Counselor Wright? Counselor McBurney? All in favor? Carried. 7.3.2, RC 2024-04. Okay, 7.3.2, North Huron Ice In, Ice Out Policy Amendment. Are there any questions for Director Stice? I just want to say at the start, the minor hockey gentleman phoned me up and he's in favor of what this is going on. He had another meeting to do with hockey tonight and he couldn't make it, but he said he's totally in full support of this that Director Stice has made up here. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor McBurney, please.
Yes, thank you, Reeve. I got a question, Kelly, in regards to these rates for the ice and that. Is there insurance included in this, or is that in your report somewhere else and I missed it?
Through you, Reeve Heffer, it's an expectation of our agreements with any of our groups that they would be providing insurance, and that we do know is a best practice amongst many municipalities.
Fine with that, Mr. McBurney? Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? That the Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of Director of Recreation Child Services dated May 6, 2024 regarding the amendments to the North Huron Ice In-Out policy for information purposes. And further, that the council approves the amendments to the North Huron Ice In-Out ice policy as presented. And further, that the council directs for amendment to Schedule G of the fees and charges bylaw to include the minimum number of hours of ice time during the preseason ice. And further, that the clerk's department be directed to prepare a bylaw adopting the amended North Huron Ice In, Ice Out policy in accordance with Report RC 2024-04 for the May 21, 2024 regular council meeting. And further, that the clerk's department be directed to prepare a bylaw to amend the Schedule G of fees and charges bylaw in accordance with Report RC 2024-04. May I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. 7.4.1 Public Works 2024-18 Mill Street tender results. Are there any questions for Director Fortney? I think this is a good news story that getting our budget adopted early and getting the RFPs out early. Seeing the numbers that came back there is a good number of them, and it was really good. I just want to thank the staff for getting that. And again, numbers don't lie. So are there any questions again for Director Fortney at this time? Seeing none, may I have a mover? Counselor McBurney, seconder. Deputy Reeve, Faulkner, that the Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated May 6, 2024 regarding the 2024 Mill Street tender results for information purposes. And further, that the council accept the lowest tender price provided by Omega Contractors in the amount of $1,608,269.57, including HST. All in favor? Carried. Fire Department, no report. Office of the CAO, over on the next page, we have 7.6.1 CAO 2024-04 Commercial Facade Improvement Grant Application, 185 Josephine Street, which is Healthy Computers at the south end of town. Are there any questions for staff on this? Pretty straightforward facade. It's great to see people taking advantage of this and improving the front of their buildings. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, Councillor Van Hitterson, that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report of the Economic Development Officer dated May 6, 2024 regarding the Commercial Facade Improvement Grant application for 185 Josephine Street. And further, that the council hereby approves the Commercial Facade Improvement Grant for 185 Josephine Street, Wingham, the amount of $534.50. And further, that the Director of Legislative Services / clerk be directed to prepare and execute an agreement between the Township of North Huron and the applicant, which outlines the terms and conditions of the grant. All in favor? Carried. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know how much money there is still in the available in the grant? Because there's probably more people that could have some usage for that.
Yeah, thanks. Through you, yes, this is the first application that we received for 2024. So there's $30,000 in the budget. So we've got 29,500 left.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know there's another person's going to be coming to see Ritu very soon about that. So it's good that they're seeing that. They're going to be going for it. Okay. Correspondence requiring action or direction. Huron County Pride and Huron Perth Public Health requests for declaring June as Pride Month and raising of Pride flag. May I have a mover?
There's no motion there. So
I thought you said you're going to craft one.
I can craft one
Yeah.
based on direction. So through your worship, so there's no motion on the agenda. Council did pass a motion on a similar request last year. So if that's the direction that council wants to continue, your draft motion would be something along the lines of that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the correspondence from Huron County Pride and Huron Perth Public Health requesting for the declaration of June as Pride Month and the raising of the Pride flag for the month of June. And further, that council approves the request to fly the Pride flag at the North Huron Municipal Office for the month of June 2024. And further, that council hereby declares the month of June 2024 as Pride Month.
Thank you. And we had a mover, Councillor McBurney, Deputy Reeve Faulkner. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks through you, Reeve. I'd like to propose an amendment. I don't think we should have to do this every year. I think we should just adopt this as the a standing policy of North Huron that we do this every year. Is there anything I should be aware of that would cause an issue if we amended the motion for that?
So through your worship to answer Counselor Wright's question, that is certainly something that can be done. So you have your existing flag protocol policy, which basically says that any flag raising requests will be entertained and approved at the discretion of council. But you could direct for an amendment to that policy so that flag requests that have been approved in previous years would be automatically approved in future years, so that you don't have to consider the request every year, and you can basically delegate the authority to staff to grant approval to those requests that have already been approved previously. So if you were looking to make an amendment to that motion to amend the flag protocol policy, that is certainly something we could do as staff. And so your mover is Councillor McBurney and your seconder is Deputy Falconer. So if they're fine with that amendment. So then I can add that to the motion.
Okay.
Yep.
All in favor? Carried. Reeves activity report. I just want to thank, there's almost 40 people that turn up, volunteers in Wingham, and they went through the town, helped out, but also kudos out to the high school, the grade 6, 7s, and 8s, they cleaned a chunk of Wingham up towards the school end, and that was very much appreciated. And again, thanks to the public works staff for providing the trailer and having it taken away, because it sure does help beautify the town up. We had our emergency management annual training, and we're finding out some things that maybe we need the odd generator or have it plugged in, but it's really a learning curve for everybody involved there. It went really well. And again, the Canadian Armed Forces being in town at Blythe and also at Wingham here, along with other parts down here in county. It was a busy place. I know a lot of people got a lot of looks at the vehicles going around and whatnot. Again, appreciate the people being receptive of that. I had to bring regards on behalf of North Huron to a couple of things that the Zone C1 Ladies Auxiliary had met with them yesterday at the Legion, and they had about 7 different towns groups involved with that, and also from the Right to Life at the Columbus Center, they're there last Wednesday night, I believe it was. And again, that's all that I was on duty doing. And so at this time, we'll ask for any verbal or members of board and committee reports. Are there any? Go ahead, Councillor Wright, please.
Yes, thanks for your Reeve. So just wanted to let everybody know that the Alice Munro Festival has published their full schedule of events now. It's now on the Alice Munro Festival website. Tickets are now on sale, so the 2024 event is fully planned and ready to go. Thank you, Reeve.
Great, thanks. Any other people? Okay, we'll go to verbal or written updates by members. The comments by members. Anybody? Seeing none. Notice of motions. Are there any notices? Motions from anyone? No, seeing none. Bylaw number 32, 2024, easement agreement with Riverside Apartments Incorporated for the public walking trail. May I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor. Carried. 10.2 bylaw number 33, 2024, easement agreement with the Riverside Apartments Incorporated for the sanitary trunk line. May I have a mover? Councillor Deputy Reeve, please, and Councillor Van Hitterson, all in favor. Carried. Next meetings and announcements, the regular council meeting will be held Tuesday, May 21, 2024, at 6 p.m. in North Huron Council Chambers, 271 Francis Street. The next Wingham BIA Board meeting will be held Thursday, May 16th, 2024, at 6:30 in the Hot Stove Lounge at the complex. The next Blythe BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, May 30th, 2024, at 8 a.m. in the Blythe and District Community Center. Are there any other announcements? Seeing none. Closed session and reporting out that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby proceeds at 7:05 to an in-camera session closed to the public under section 239(2)(c) for the municipal act to discuss the following: a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, right of first refusal, and further, that the CAO officer and Director of Legislative Service Clerk remain in attendance. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Henderson, seconder. Councillor Wright, all in favor? Carried.